I was born on Loon Street in my grandparents' house on the 9th of August 1949. So I'm a proper Skertonian. I was born at the end of Skerton Bridge. Okay. My mum was a mill worker and my dad was a factory worker, Williamson's on the Quay. I have one sister that's older, Dorothy, and then we have a big age gap and we have two younger sisters, which is Pauline and Sharon. When I started school, I was 5 years old, and I always remember my mum was a very, she wasn't a maternal mother, she was very strict and matter of fact. And I can remember walking to school and taking me the first day, and you know, don't you dare cry, and you know. And then when I got there was a girl called Yvonne, and she was crying and her mum was clinging on to her, and there was me. I didn't cry because I would have got a telling off, and I was really jealous of this girl because she could show that she was frightened of starting school, but I wasn't allowed to. We used to live on a street where there weren't a lot of money, and we'd share toys, and of an evening we'd all play on the street playing tin can lurky and skipping and things like that, and it was a good time because we were all in the same boat, but we enjoyed that time. We made fun for ourselves. We didn't have all these expensive toys, but you know, we'd play marbles and we'd play pick-up jacks and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it was a good time. I enjoyed it. We actually went to dancing school as well, a lot of us, although our parents couldn't afford it. Mm-hmm. We went to dancing schools, and you know, you'd go to youth clubs and things like that, church youth club, at Sunday school. So there was always lots for us to do, and we were never ever bored. A typical meal, we were relatively poor. We wouldn't have pork chops, we'd have belly pork. That was if we were lucky. I can remember, you know, on a Friday when they got paid, if it was a good wage, we'd be allowed to pick something, and mine would always be Heinz vegetable soup. Food wasn't like it is today. We didn't have biscuits in between snacking. You know, I can remember on a Sunday, we might have toast for tea. Another Sunday we might have cheese and biscuits because it was a better week, you know, money-wise. Many times you were hungry. I can remember coming home from school one dinner time because my mum couldn't afford the dinner money that week. And when I looked in the house, there was basically not to eat. And I can remember making toffee. There was sugar and butter, and I remember making toffee just to eat. So times were hard. We used to love school dinners because, you know, you got proper school dinners, meat and 3 veg, and you know, you could always have seconds. Mm-hmm. But you were hungry, you did go hungry. Mm. Through no fault of your parents, it was just, you know, they wanted the money around and it was juggling it. At teenage years, we were allowed to go a bit further afield, and I actually met my husband when I was 13, and it was the Beaumont girls hung around with the Vale boys, and there'd be a group of us, and my mum, although she was strict, she did let us grow up. We were allowed to go to Floral Hall and Pier. We knew that if we overstepped the mark, we drunk, that'd be it, we'd never go again. So we wouldn't actually abuse it, and we wouldn't do it. I always wanted to work in mills because my mum's family worked in the mills, and I had an auntie that used to be a weaver, and she was noted as being one of the best weavers in Lancaster. And I always used to say that I wanted to follow my Auntie Elsie into the mill. I wasn't a dunce at school, I wasn't overly clever, but we were given the choice to stop on at school to do better things anyhow, because they just couldn't afford to do it. If it was nowadays, I think I would have stopped on at school and would have, I suppose, gone for a better job. But I don't know, because I enjoyed my working life anyhow, but we weren't given a chance to do it. To get qualifications, which was your O-levels and A-levels, where you do it automatically now, you didn't in them days. You had to stop on at school just to do your O-levels. I came out with my reports with good marks, but not no D. No, I did that in later years by doing it MVQ and things like that. I got married at St Luke's Church on the 11th of March 1967 at 2 o'clock. And I married the boy that I met at 13, Dennis Lambert. I've actually had 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys. I was actually expecting when I got married, which it was the 60s, and it was just that time of era where that happened. My first child, she was Denise. She was born in 67. My second child was Amanda. She was born in 69. Andrea was born in 1972. Anne-Marie was born in 1975. Jamie was born in 1976. And then I have a young son, Philip, who was born in 1986. Sadly, Denise died at 40-year-old. She died of adult sudden death syndrome. I have a daughter as well at the same time that had a brain tumour and was battling the brain tumour. All my other children are doing well. They all work, they all own their own houses. Over the years they saw how me and the dad worked to fetch them up. We never ever, you didn't have the money that made your wages up in them days, so what we wanted we had to work for, and it's been good stead for them because they've all learned, you know, in life you work for what you want. It was very, very hard. I actually get annoyed now because I listen to young people talking, you know, and they've only to work so many hours and then they get the money made up to X amount of money and they're still not happy, and it annoys me because me and my husband, I had a good mother that would babysit for me while me and my husband worked, and we tried to do opposite shifts, and it was really, really hard. You know, I would have to buy 5 sets of uniforms come September. Phil was still a baby, so you know, I would be buying 5 sets of uniforms, and you know, I'd work up to 70 hours a week just to provide, and my husband as well, just to provide for them things. We always made sure they never did without. If we needed extra money, we would both work overtime. It could be so tight at times, and I would wait for my older daughter coming home so that I could borrow her shoes to go to work because I wouldn't have a decent pair of shoes to go to work. Luckily, we were the same size. You know, and when you look back now, you laugh about it, but it wasn't funny at that time. You know, my mum would help me out as much as she could. You know, she would sometimes buy me a pair of shoes. She'd sometimes buy me a coat just so that I had a coat, because we actually fell out, me and my husband, at one time because I was making sure him and the children were clothed and we're doing that without myself. But they just want the money to do that, you know, so you had to put your priorities first. And my husband used to get annoyed and say, no, surely, you know, somewhere in between we can fit in for you to have a pair of shoes. I think he saw it as a failure, you know, the fact that we were living, you know, from hand to mouth. Luckily, I am healthy to carry on working. Luckily, I love my work, and the thoughts of retiring, it scares me. Because I've enjoyed my work, it's not been like work. I love meeting people, I love listening to people, and you know, I am scared that when I retire, what am I going to do? This is a reason to get up in the morning to come. When I lost my daughter, my work friends, you know, rallied round me, and they give you that reason to carry on. But I am frightened of having to retire. I'll probably come as a voluntary, or else I'll enroll as a client. No, no.